Hello everybody, here's a second video on my D&D audio setup because it has changed quite dramatically for the better. So I'm gonna go through all of it again, explain the differences between the first one and this new system. And again, this is a very unscripted video, so forgive me for awkward phrasing, stuttering, stammering, hesitations, and all that. I'll try to make the best out of it. So the first setup was using OBS on this machine, which, well, right here, which I haven't touched in 2 minutes, screen timeout, sorry. On this machine, transmitting a very bare bones video feed and, of course, with audio to an RTMP server somewhere in a cloud provider, and everybody else would plug in to this RTMP stream using VLC. So that was a good and quick setup, except there were a couple of limitations with it that were, well, hard to overcome, which is first, it's not real time. It's close to real time, but it's not real time. But most importantly, delay can accrue over time, and there's not much you can do about it for whatever reason. Because not everybody is going to have the same, route to the server, and the internet being what it is. Some people are going to have a good route, some other people are going to have a bad route where all the traffic keeps getting dropped, packet loss and all that. And we could end up having like 10 seconds of delay between players, and that wasn't very nice. The second is that, it required using VLC, another program. So it's like, you have to remind people that, hey, don't forget to plug into the audio stream, guys. So yeah. So now I was like, you know what? I gotta try to do something better. And I was reminded of Discord music bots. And I was like, I wonder if there's a way to, just me broadcast an RTMP feed or whatever into a music bot. And, let's use that. Because Discord recently, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, has introduced this video chat, but in regular voice chat rooms, which are just, rooms now, I guess. So it means that since we're not in a DM call, we're actually in our own little private server now. We can have bots join these channels. So that's where the idea came from. So, yeah, let's just get into it. So of course you have to make a bot first, and I'm gonna be frank, I don't remember most of the details here. It's really easy to do it, but I couldn't remember the exact details. Okay, you just make your bots, you give it the permissions, you have to make a URL with the right permissions, and then as a server admin, that's how you invite the bot into your server. But keep in mind, this is a bot, but it's not actually gonna be doing anything. It's a bot, but it's just a bot account, a bot user of sorts. Because there's gonna be no, automated functionality, no code. It's just an endpoint. That's it. And the way you plug into it is with this very useful program, which you can find here on GitHub, Discord Audio Pipe. Bare bones program to send computer audio into a Discord bot. Because you can only get stereo audio on Discord that way. Because at first I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just broadcast using a dummy user account, but that is mono, unfortunately. And I don't believe there's a way to get around that. So let's go launch that program now. It's right here on my desktop. And while it's launching, a little reminder here is that I am on a very tiny tablet computer here. The screen isn't on because I'm using a, video acquisition box to pipe that to my desktop, and that's how I'm capturing, because I could not do video capture of its desktop reasonably with how underpowered this machine is. But, it works well enough for these purposes. But as you can see, Intel Atom CPU, 1.5 gigahertz, it ain't much, but it works. So let's connect here. So I will explain all of this later, of course, but we're just gonna get it connected to a server right now. And before I forget, I need to set its priority to real time, because this is not gonna do any processing besides encoding the audio stream into Opus, I guess, and sending it to Discord. So you usually don't want to use the real-time priority in Windows, but here it's very much justified. And of course, I already had music running, so now you are hearing it. All right, let me pause you here. There we go. So we got a little program that's gonna send, our audio feed to Discord. That's nice. Let me quit Chrome here. Okay, so how do I direct this audio feed? That's the question here. So I am using the Windows Virtual Desktop feature, as you can see here. Desktop 1 is just gonna be Winamp. Desktop 2 is gonna be a bunch of instances of Media Player Classic Home Cinema. We're here just stacked on top of each other, and that's how I am playing atmospheric sounds. And desktop 3 is where I have the audio mixing console. So I'm using VoiceMeeter Banana, and keep in mind, this is the Banana version. You have to get that one. It's a bit, I got really confused on their website because there's like 3 or 4 different editions of it. And it's like each edition has the features of the previous one. So like they're increasingly complex, but you need the Banana one. And I have an instance of Cantabile, this thing, Lite running here. And this is an ASIO host. I'm not going to pretend I know how it works, but basically the principles behind this is that Winamp and MPC-HC are going to be outputting their audio into VoiceMeeter Aux Input. All of the instances that you see right here in Winamp, they're outputting to that audio device. Because if we go into Windows sound settings here, and to a sound control panel, I really hate that it's behind 4 clicks now, by the way. So yeah, there's a bunch of devices here. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna keep this handy just around here. Okay, so VoiceMeeter creates all of these inputs. We don't care about this. We just want to use the virtual inputs. But if you wanted to also use a mic or whatever, you would probably plug it in here. See, like microphone here. That's the built-in microphone of the tablet. And using VoiceMeeter Banana, we're actually going to pipe everything that comes into this aux input into Cantabile. And I will explain why in a second here. Usually the resolution of this screen is 1280 by 800, but since it's down to 720 for recording right now, I have to drag it like this. So if you look at the bottom of the thing right here, just right here, you'll see that I have patch inserts for the virtual ASIO driver. And I'm using these. I can't remember quite why exactly I'm using these, but there must be a reason. And that is so that basically Cantabile catches the signal and is able to process it. And because you see, when I was using OBS to do the feed, I had just some basic processing going on, just a compressor and a limiter, but that was it. And I also wanted to have that going on with this setup. I want a compressor because, you know, I just basically need to make the music sounds like, you know, on the radio when volume is maximized, you can just turn the radio down and you hear everything. You know, the quiet parts are loud, the loud parts are loud, everything is loud. But when you turn it down, that means that you still hear the music, it's still distinguishable, but it doesn't overpower people talking, right? Well, in fact, I can demonstrate this, right? Right now it's a bit too loud, but you know, in Discord, everybody more like it's at 95% volume right now, but people usually set it between 60 and you know, or around 60% volume, and that works just fine. I guess I'm just gonna keep it running here. So, where was I? Right. So I just want to apply processing to the signal, but since I don't have OBS and it's built-in things anymore, I just need to hijack the signal from VoiceMeeter, process it through a VST plugin. So it's the standard for audio workstations and all that for plugins, and you know, then output it back out to VoiceMeeter, and then you know, the program DAP, Discord audio pipe, just retrieves that, encodes it, and sends it to Discord. So I'm using a free suite of VST plugins from Reaper.fm. So Cantabile Lite is free, VoiceMeeter is free, and these VST plugins are free. None of this costs any money, so that's very nice. And I'm using a multiband compressor, not a regular compressor anymore. Which is actually what I'm also using on my voice right now. You know, that's how I make it a bit more nicer, a bit, I wouldn't say radio-like, but you know, it's nicer to, makes it more even, whatever, you get the idea. But the reason this is especially important here is that, due to the way, you know, I play audio effects, sound effects, atmospheric soundscapes and whatever, one of those could be, you know, internally on its own very loud, but like on just one specific frequency, like the sound of the waves might be very bassy. And a regular compressor would basically just get limited just by that frequency range and that frequency range alone. So if, you know, there was a thunder, just very low rumbling thunder, it would just suddenly all drop in volume just because of the bassy part. So a multi-band compressor just, you know, treats all these frequencies independently. So it makes the signal much more even, basically. I'm not an audio engineer, you know, I just know a few things, gleaned a few things over the years, so I apologize if I've offended any actual audio engineers watching this. But yeah, so my settings are kind of whack, actually. You know, threshold of almost minus 80 decibels, a ratio of 2.4 on every single frequency, 0 milliseconds attack time, 130 release time, and RMS window of 4. And auto makeup gain is on all of them, because basically the idea is that before your stuff goes into the compressor, there's the peaks and there's the valleys. A compressor just reduces the dynamic range like this, right? Vdoom. So between 0 decibels and 77 decibels here, the ratio is going to be 2.4, so something like that. So it's going to lower the volume, so the makeup gain means that, you know, you just want to bring that back up so that your things are actually louder instead of staying down. And auto makeup gain, you know, just does that on its own. It means that in practice, I've seen that it depends on the frequencies you've chosen to, but it sounds like there's a bit of EQ going on in your mix, but in practice I don't really think it matters enormously. You could probably just do the makeup gain on your own if that bothers you. But you can also add gain on top of this makeup gain, and this is what I've done here. I'm actually slightly emphasizing the frequencies, you know, above 900 hertz, so, you know, out of the core speaking range, I guess. I mean, you know, I think speech is like between 150 hertz and 3000 hertz, but the bulk of it is around, you know, between 100 and 1000. So I'm just basically just making the treble. It's like adding a bit of treble. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing with this thing here. So, in fact, if I go into the options of Cantabile, we can hear how it will sound with and without. So, I'm just gonna raise the volume on the bot here. There we go. There you go. So you can definitely hear that I've added some treble. Right now everything is like very loud, so if I just really tweak everything down. So the nice thing about this is that I can just hover over my players and, you know, just use the scroll wheel to just, you know, adjust the volumes of things. I don't even have to click, just hover over my players and scroll wheel. And it's extremely convenient. That's nice. So here you can hear that even when volume is really low, this processing really just boosts the volume of everything equally, and it does so in a way that even the atmospheric soundscapes can basically, in a way, break through the music a little more. Everything is like more equal. It's very, very simple mixing. I mean, it can barely be called mixing in a sense, but, you know, it's nice. It works. So, Cantabile is a bit complex to set up, actually. Well, it's not that complex, but basically you just needed to know which ports it's taking in. So remember here in VoiceMeeter, the input ports are in 5 left and in 5 right. So, you know, it's the same in Cantabile, and the output ports, yeah, same thing. There's a couple things which might be important, and it's that I had to adjust the buffer values to the max. This creates latency, but I don't care because it's not like I'm speaking directly into it. And because this machine is so underpowered, just running VoiceMeeter Banana, you see, half of the time here, this is just kernel stuff. This might actually be a bug in VoiceMeeter, because I looked it up, this isn't supposed to happen. But yeah, VoiceMeeter is just taking up half of the CPU resources of this thing. So yeah, I had to adjust the latency settings in VoiceMeeter to their maximum, and also enabling double buffered audio in Cantabile to double the resulting latency. So in total, that's an 85 millisecond buffer. It's decent, right? So yeah, I know it's a terrible explanation, but, you know, hopefully it guides you to the right places. Right, so that's how the setup works. So once again, to recap, Winamp and my instances of MPC-HC are all outputting to an aux output, a virtual one that the VoiceMeeter, you know, has created. That gets sent through an ASIO insert patch. Cantabile picks it up, sends it like this to the VST plugin, and then, you know, sends it back out to stereo out to the main output. which is where I presume, you know, VoiceMeeter just, you know, spits it back out into the output that I've selected here. And yes, I know this says VB input, but I think it's I don't know, it's a different one or something. Because this is the aux input and this is just the input. So I'm sending it back into another voice banana input, but it's not one that I'm actually using. And that's the one that the input goes to VB output, which is what DND, the DAP, Discord Pipe program picks up. I feel like I should probably have made like an MS Paint thing to go a little bit. Hopefully you get it. Cause yeah, this video has gone on for 20 minutes already. I'm terribly sorry. This is not the most efficient explanation. Right. So a few last notes to repeat more or less what I said in the last video. So how I'm using Winamp and MPC-HC. So why I'm using Winamp is well, it's just very convenient. Right? I just got this giant playlist here. If I keep the repeating song mode to just, you know, repeat track, it's gonna repeat that track endlessly until I change to a new one or queue a new one. Because with the Winamp jump to file plugin, I think if I hold Alt and click on a song, it is just going to, you know, queue songs like this. Here. So that's very, very convenient. So, you know, if there's I can just queue fight songs back to back. 'Cause, you know, I'm also playing in the game. I'm not DM. I'm just also playing. So sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna queue this, and then I want to cast this. I want to cast this spell. You know. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing in Winamp, right? I have a couple of playlists. So I just drag and drop songs from, you know, my music library into this, and I can just, you know, then load up the playlists like this. In fact, one nice thing is that because this is such an underpowered tablet with like 100 gigs of storage, I could never fit all of my music library and sound effects onto this thing. So I mounted a few network shares as, you know, drives, as you can see here on the left. This Winamp playlist is just straight up, you know, everything is streaming in real time from my desktop computer. In fact, if we look at the network graph, we can see here, you know, all of these little spikes here, that's every time it's, you know, loading a new chunk from my desktop computer. Whereas, you know, the send 160 kilobytes, that's just the Discord audio pipe sending its thing. Okay, and since this tablet computer is, you know, probably a cheap Wi-Fi chip in here, sometimes like a little micro cutouts here and there. Maybe you've been able to hear a couple of them here and there, but, you know, it's not too bad. In practice, you know, it works. So yeah, so I've just covered this. I'm retrieving everything for network share, right? One thing which I did too is you know, for sound effects, there's this amazing app called Everything from Voicetools.com, which I would recommend you install on every computer. It's amazing. And it's also able to index network drives. So, if I want to just, you know, play sounds from Dota during fights, because I'm not too busy, you know, I just drag and drop. Well, normally it doesn't take that long to queue up, but, you know. Yeah, it's true, normally this doesn't take this long. But, you know, I can just type the sound in here and bang. So that's very convenient. I got my little ambient list here. I just drag and drop to my instances, and the everything window here to just drag and drop to play sound effects, if needs be. Okay, another little note here is that I'm actually using a DSP enhancer in Winamp to maximize the volume of songs a little bit. It's like this. Look for the version that has a wrapper, compatibility wrapper. And the main slider here that I'm using is here, but I also, you know, slightly enhance the bass, the treble, and add a little bit of ambient reverb. I just think it's nice. And the reason for this is that, you know, maximizing the music's own volume is just, you know, I just want to make sure that everything is as loud as possible before, well, not as loud as possible, but that everything is reasonably consistent between all of these tracks, you know, the music track and the 5 MPC-HC tracks, before the compressor in Cantabile takes care of it. In fact, MPC-HC also has something like this to maximize volume, and it's in here, normalize, and you can, I think it's 400% max amplifications by default, and you only just need these 3 things ticked, that's it. Do not touch this, do not touch this boost thing, it's gonna create saturation and clipping. So yeah, I think that just about covers it, really. So here, and now you can hear it, you know. It's just been nice, we have been hearing this this music in the background with little birds chirping and stuff. So, another little demo. So you can see here, I don't have any other track queued up, so I just repeated the same one. I see you heard a little cut up there. But yeah. In general, you know, this just works just fine. So, as you can see, very convenient. The hotkeys to switch between desktops is Windows Control arrow keys. So yeah, that just about covers it since we're nearing the 30-minute mark. I'm sorry that this has been so unscripted and rambling and all that, but yeah. One last thing which I thought of talking about earlier is that, you know, I said that with the old VLC method, latency could build up. This is actually also true in Discord, but in a whole different way. The thing in Discord is that, sorry, I'm still distracted with this thing. If Discord is prevented from playing, you know, audio samples, as in, you know, just like bits and pieces of the audio it's receiving, it's like queuing them up. And that means there might be some latency. And normally, you know, when you're talking with friends, it's fine because basically this is used as a way to get around packet loss. And this is why sometimes you must have heard this in, you know, calls and whatever. Sometimes you hear suddenly the audio going in fast forward mode as like it's catching up. But the problem with this is that this is constantly transmitting samples. There's no downtime. So Discord never has an opportunity to you know, just catch up on all those samples. So in fact, if I stop, even if I stop everything here, you will see right about here that there's still a little green circle around D&D audio because it's still transmitting like a little bit of hiss or whatever it's detecting. There's no threshold, activation threshold. So yeah, so the only way you can really get around this is clicking the mute button on the program here. And now you know it's gone. So consider from time to time, occasionally, you know, muting for a few seconds in case you're, you know, just to basically even out the latency that might have built up for some people that are tuned in because maybe they got packet loss or whatever. I know in my case that if I let my monitors time out, because they're on a very short timeout, 2 minutes without mouse or keyboard activity or whatever, 2 minutes without activity, they just turn off. And while they turn off, Discord just stops playing audio for like 1.5 seconds. And it basically just creates 1.5 seconds of latency all of a sudden. So there you go. All right, so I hope this will have been useful to you. Hope you found it interesting, of course, useful, and all that good stuff. If you have questions, do not hesitate to ask me. I will do my best to help you in the comments. Isn't it nice? I think it's nice. All right, see ya.